Okay, welcome back to another video of Fallout 4. Now, if you have been watching my YouTube channel, lately I've been doing a couple alien isolation videos for the, holiday spirit, I guess, for Halloween. You know, it's coming around the corner, so, you know, play some spooky, scary games and whatnot. But for tonight, I'm back with Fallout 4 and the adventure of Blue and Cotsworth. And my blue baseball bat. Ooh.
We'll take this alley. Follow me.
Ah.
Arcjet is a short hike to the west. If we take this road, we should be able to avoid the larger packs of ferals.
And also, if you've been, keeping up to date with my YouTube channel, I also uploaded a old song, but it's a new video for it. It was in fact the first ever classical-esque piece that I composed, called Premiere More.
So it's our job to investigate.
And so yeah, I'm trying to slowly upload my older songs onto YouTube. I think why I've been hesitating a lot is I'm so self-conscious about my music. Especially my older songs. Like, whenever I listen to some of my older songs, especially from my first opus, they make me cringe a bit, just because, and it's a good cringe and a bad cringe in a way. You know, I cringe a bit because my music has changed drastically so much, and that's a good thing. You know, it's a good thing to have your music evolve and progress and get better over time. If it didn't, then what would, what would be the point? I mean, you know, it's good to see your music, progress and evolve. So that's one reason why I cringe. Another reason is because, as I mentioned before, I am a bit self-conscious though with my music, and so for me, I'm very critical and don't like it. Oh, good work, Cotsworth. Where's the person's body, though? Is it in the bushes here somewhere? Oh, well.
This is the first to visit the Commonwealth. Over the last 7 years, 2 other teams were sent here by the Brotherhood to gather technology. The first team's mission was a huge success. They came back with crates full of pre-war artifacts and historical documents. The second wasn't so fortunate. Shortly after they arrived, we lost contact with them. They haven't been heard from since. As far as my team goes, we've lost 4 good men to this godforsaken wasteland. We've been a target from the moment we arrived. But despite our setbacks, I don't intend to give up and head home, or end up missing.
see.
Lock and load.
Ah,
Get him.
doggos. They kind of remind me of Resident Evil dogs. So yeah, Premiere More, what I uploaded on YouTube, was the first song. It was the first song in my first opus. And hopefully over time I'll be slowly putting some more songs up. You know, in the future.
There it is. Arc jet systems. There shouldn't be any exterior security, so we'll head into the front.
I'm also actually in the process of composing another new song. If you saw the other song that I posted, which was Forgotten Memory, I believe. I forget the name of the song now.
Paladin.
Let's
Come on,
listen to him.
this way. Listen up. We do this clean and quiet. No heroics and by the book. Understood?
Let's hurry this up.
I don't plan on rushing through the facility without extreme caution. Contrary to what you might believe, I'd like you to remain alive during the course of our mission. Remember, our primary target is the deep-range transmitter. Stay focused and check your fire. I don't want to be hit by stray bullets.
So yeah, I just recently composed the song, which was Forgotten Memory, which I think is part of my 5th opus. I think it's like, coincidentally, I think it's the 5th song of my 5th opus, maybe 4th, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, and I'm composing a new song, and I'm trying to break the mold that I've sort of set myself into. Forgotten Memory and the song before that, which was, I believe, Empty Dream, are both of the same sort of subgenre
like this that
of
were the last nail in the
classical
coffin for
music.
mankind. They exploited technology for their own gains, pocketing the cash and ignoring the damage they've done.
Okay, Dance.
Look at these wrecks. It appears as though the facility's automated security's already been dealt with.
Looks like we missed the party.
You're making a foolishly hasty assessment. Look at the evidence. There isn't a single spent ammunition casing or drop of blood in sight. These robots were assaulted by Institute synths.
Sounds like you're scared of synths.
There's a measurable difference between being frightened and being prepared. Now, let's move out.
So, both Empty Dream and Forgotten Memory are almost like, I would consider them sister
This
songs,
place is a mess. But I still
in
see
the sense
pieces
that
of salvage
they're
that the
part of the
might
same
use.
subgenre,
After
same
we're done here,
theme
I'll have to mark
almost. They
this place.
use similar electronic synth sounds to create this almost sci-fi-esque soundtrack piece. But more specifically, they have the same musical concepts. Both of them are what I would call modal classical music. And by modal classical music, I mean that the function of the classical genre, subgenre, modal, is
Looks
to
like a dead end.
modulate
find a way to get
between
that door
keys in
I've got a
such a
recommended
way that
hearing.
the listener doesn't know per se what home base is, what the home key is, what the center of gravity is. most traditional classical songs are centered
Why the heck are
around
they making us
a
record this?
key,
Crap, it's on, isn't it?
and the listener innately
This is Technician
can
Rant, Artifact
recognize that
Propulsion Division.
key and
I'm
sort
here
of
with Technician Janowski, work log
predict in a way
A1190.
where it's gonna go,
Janowski and I have been
where
working on the Mars
it's,
Shot project for about 3 months now, and I think we have the
going
thrust
to.
calculations worked out.
Man, I wish I was headed up there with those guys. Be nice to get the hell away from our
Yes.
lousy planet.
Yes.
Hey, easy. If we don't record these logs properly,
So
we're gonna get
modal
fired.
music,
Supervisor's already
modal
itching to get rid
classical
of us.
music
So
and
what?
even
I
modal
remember.
jazz
Anyway,
music have the
shipping out
same
in 2 weeks,
concept.
remember?
Good
I'm trying not to imagine
example
getting
of a
my head
modal
blown off
jazz
when I'm on the front
composer would be
line.
Herbie
My mind
Hancock
on work is helping
and
deal with
his
the problem. Maybe that doesn't
album
make sense to
Maiden
you, but it's
Voyage.
important to me, okay?
It is by far one of my
All right.
favorite Herbie Hancock albums.
Look, why don't you talk to Steve and we'll start a new one.
To say I'm not inspired by it one bit would be a lie. I'm very, very heavily inspired by Herbie Hancock, and especially that album, Maiden Voyage. While for the most part I compose strictly sort of classical-esque music, I would never really consider myself a jazz composer or a jazz musician, ever really. I think jazz musicians and classical musicians just have two different mindsets in a way. I think we share and give to each other as do every genre and subgenre of music.
Hold on.
You must dine with the detective. Julius, gone. You must
Good classical, modern sort of classical composer of modal music would be Disaster Piece. And you might know his songs from games like, oh man, I can't even think of. There's a really good, I can't name any of the games off the top of my head. I think it's Fez or something like that. It's a puzzle game, but the music is fantastic in it. He actually pays homage to Chopin at one point, Chopin's Prelude in E minor. And yeah, just look up the composer Disaster Piece. He's a good, I would say, example of a modern classical composer of modal music. Let's see here. I can't upgrade anything I want. But yeah, and to some degree, his music is also coincidentally inspired by modal jazz, which I think is really probably the root of this sort of music. But anyway, get back to what I was saying. So for a while I've been in this mold, as it were, just composing that sort of minimalistic, modal, sort of classical music. And I mean, I still like it. I still like that sort of subgenre of music. I still enjoy composing that sort of music, and I'll probably still compose stuff like that. But, you know, I like to experiment a lot, and I think, you know, a good composer or musician who's, you know, trying to learn how to compose should do, is, you know, sort of experiment, step out of the box a bit, you know, step out of what you're comfortable with and try to compose some style of music that you're not used to composing. And so one of the things I'm doing is similar to the theme of Gershwin. I'm, you know, taking a traditional, you know, blues music concept and you know, turning it into a classical piece.
Over there!
Up here.
And so that's the real.
Go down.
That's what I'm doing with my newest song that I'm composing, and I'm calling it Favors Blues after Homo Faber, human the creator, or human really the fabricator, a concept Marx mentioned a lot in his philosophy.
Overactive sensors. Nothing more.
Civilization
Did
may
not
not
mean
have
to shoot my gun, but sure. Oh. Let me go back up here because
The sensitivity of my sensors clearly needs adjustment.
there we go. Oh, I thought this was somewhere else. There's a spot where you can go to where you can get a safe and whatnot. Let's see.
Engine course ahead. Should be our final stop.
Probably a long loading screen. So,
Watch
yeah.
your footing. Looks like the power's out in this section.
I don't really expect my music to go anywhere. I don't even really expect this YouTube channel to go anywhere.
Look at this place. Scribes would have a field day in here.
But you know, I still enjoy it. I still like, you know, making these videos just as much as I like, you know, composing music and stuff. It's kind of a release of creativity, as it were.
I'll remain here and watch our backs.
Jeering, leering, laughing, mocking, taunting.
Oh, he graduated all right from high school. It's fine, I'm sure he took shop class. Oh look, he's reading the science mags. How cute.
Har har har. Shop class. Let's see them make this in shop class. Marvelous engineering. The finest in weaponized refuse acceleration. My beauty. My junk jet. They'll see. The engineers with their suits and
Nice.
degrees. Come Monday morning, they'll all see.
Nice.
Engine core power restored. Thermal engine fueled, primed, and standing by for your command. Command accepted. Commencing 5-second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine firing. It would appear my target has disappeared. Test firing completed with an efficiency rating of 96.7%.
Oh my god. Are you alright?
Got cooked by those flames. But thanks to my power armor, I'm still in one piece. The important thing is that we're still alive. We have a way to get to the transmitter. Let's go.
Well, he certainly doesn't need that anymore.
So let's see here. Gonna switch out the short laser musket for the Institute gun, because I personally like the Institute laser guns more. I mean, like the musket, just in my opinion, it's not that great. It's like a beginning weapon that you just want to trade out after a while.
Going down.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna have my character Blue join the railroad.
Going up.
Just a little side note. I do like dance though. I wish you could still keep dance as a follower.
I don't think we're alone. Not getting past me!
Oh.
Hostile sensor reading detected.
You go dance.
By order of the Institute, you must be destroyed. Shutting down.
They're in the control room! Open fire!
Not sure you want to do that.
Ah.
Any suffering?
I hope that's the last of them. Yeah, I don't see the device anywhere. Fan out and check the synth remains. They may have been after the transmitter as well.
Oh, interesting little story. A lot of my customers at my liquor store have been asking me lately, how do you make an old-fashioned whiskey drink? And honestly, I didn't know. I really don't. I don't actually know that many mixed drinks, coincidentally, even though a lot of customers ask me. I know a few that I've personally had. I've even made a couple. But yeah, I didn't know how to make an old-fashioned. And so the other day I learned, just so that I can help my customers out whenever they ask. But apparently an old-fashioned is
Going up.
like either a cube of sugar or a spoonful of sugar. I think brown sugar is probably better, or any sort of natural cane sugar. And then a shot of whiskey, some bitters, so splash some bitters in there, and then an orange and lemon
Let's move out.
sort of squeeze, or slice, a skin, a peel, whatever, just to garnish and add a little more subtle flavors. But yeah, now I know, and now you guys know.
Paladin dance.
Apparently you can
Well,
also
that
add
could have gone
soda.
smoother,
It's
but mission
optional, but
accomplished.
I don't think so. I wouldn't, at least.
Smoother? I thought we did fine.
We're both alive and the transmitter's been secured. There's no need to scrutinize the details.
I thought we worked well as a team.
Agreed. It's a refreshing change to work with a civilian who can follow orders properly. That being said, I believe we have two important matters to discuss. First and foremost, if you'll hand me the deep-range transmitter, I'd like to compensate you for your assistance during this operation. I think you'll find this weapon useful. It's my own personal modification of the standard Brotherhood laser rifle. May it serve you well in battle.
Thank you.
You're welcome, civilian. Now, as far as the second matter goes, I wanted to make you a proposal. We had a lot thrown at us back there. Our op could have ended in disaster, but you kept your cool and handled it like a soldier. There's no doubt in my mind that you've got what it takes. The way I see it, you've got a choice. You could spend the rest of your life wandering from place to place, trading an extra hand for a meager reward. Or, you could join the Brotherhood of Steel and make your mark on the world. So, what do you say?
I'll just join to, just so that
I'd
I
be
can,
honored to join.
Surely with their resources, we'll be able
you
to
know,
find
just to
Junction.
join.
That's what I want to
I
do.
mean, obviously,
Meet me
when
back at the
the
police station,
decision
and we'll
comes, I'll
discuss the
probably
details.
join the railroad or something. But, at least that way I can get some more missions and some more story. Should I go back to the police station? I mean, I'm not gonna do the side quests. They have me like doing a bunch of those that I don't really care for per se. Like there's one like where the guy, one of the Brotherhood Steel guys, like sends you off to like, you know, clear out some like ghouls or synths or monsters, and then the girl has you try to find like certain items, like technology devices and stuff like that. And then Paladin Dance at one point asks you to, which is actually a good side quest, is find a missing Brotherhood of Steel member who had originally came into the Commonwealth. Now sometimes right off the get-go, he'll assign that mission, and I think it relates to how high of a level you are. I'm not quite sure, but yeah. I think last episode I just ranted and raved about Nietzsche the whole time. This time I spent like the first half of the episode ranting and raving about my music. So thanks for listening through that. I don't know what's to do. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I sort of want to get these Brotherhood of Steel missions sort of done and out of the way before I confront Kellogg. Ooh, you know who I should also get is that one companion. So there are some companions that I'm missing still, so I might actually just try to find them.
Paladin Dance. Glad to see you alive and well, sir.
Are we in luck, sir? Mission accomplished. We have the transmitter.
Finally, some good news for a change. Nice work, sir.
I didn't do it alone. Aelin, Reese, it's time to welcome our newest recruit to the recon team. She shows a lot of promise, and with the proper guidance, I think she has the potential of becoming one of the best.
I'm only in it for the spiffy uniforms.
Oh yeah? And here I thought you joined up for a sense of purpose and meaning.
So you decided to stay, huh? I expected you to take your payment and run.
Let's just hug this out and get it over with, huh? What do you say?
You can play it however you want, tough girl. It's gonna take a lot more than completing one mission to impress me.
Reese, that's enough. Like it or not, you're going to have to learn to work together. And you need to understand what it means to be a part of the Brotherhood. We're not soldiers of fortune. We're an army, and we've dedicated our lives to uphold a strict code of ethics. If you intend to stay within our ranks, you need to obey our tenets without question.
I never was good at following the rules.
If you intend to stay with us, I expect you to take my advice seriously. I only ask for two things from anyone under my command: honesty and respect. You fall in line, you stay in line. I give you an order, and you follow it. It's as simple as that. Now, before I release you to Halen and Reese for your assignments, there's one last order of business. From this moment forward, I'm granting you the rank of Initiate. This is only a training rank. I'm not permitted to grant ranks any higher than that.
Thank you.
Thanks aren't necessary. Just continue excelling at your duties, soldier.
Ad Victoriam, Initiate.
She doesn't even know what that means, Halen.
Ad Victoriam means to victory. In our eyes, defeat is unacceptable, because we're fighting for the future of mankind. Our rallying cry is more powerful than any weapon you could ever carry. Remember that. Now, I need you to report to Halen or Reese for your next assignment. Dismissed, soldier.
I mean, the militarism of the Brotherhood of Steel is so on the nose in this game. But I also feel like there's like almost a Templar aspect to it, a Crusaders aspect of it. I guess a medieval aspect to it. Let me see. Oh yeah. So going to go towards Diamond City. Just gonna put a. Can I put a wave? There, that's fine. Gonna go Diamond City real quick. Drop some of my junk that I've collected. See if I can get strong, the super mutant, and then after getting strong, I'm gonna get man, I still can't remember the Irish girl's name. Well, I'll get the other Irish girl companion. I'm trying to think of her name. I don't have her following me as much. I've done her like side quests before, like way, maybe like the first time I played through Fallout. But like after I've played it a couple times, I usually have Curie as my main companion, or Nick Valentine. But I think the Irish girl prefers sarcasm and aggression and stuff like that. And I think she also likes theft. And so if you steal things, she's okay with it. Ooh, side note, I've been binge watching the old TV show Cheers on Netflix. It's really good. I've really enjoyed it. It was really interesting. The one episode I just watched and it was great was Sam Malone, one of the main characters in the TV show, read Tolstoy's War and Peace in 5 days, and it was just the funniest thing. It's funny too because the show will make references to things a lot that really just sort of like kind of, if you're a philosopher or like classical literature, you'll get them, and they're really great. There was like one where what was it? Diane, one of the characters in the show, she said I went to bed with Kierkegaard last night, and Sam Malone says, well, what a lucky guy, Kierkegaard, or whatever, you know. And it's just funny, just some of the jokes and stuff. Kierkegaard is a really interesting philosopher. If you're into existentialism, similar to Nietzsche from the previous video, where I ranted and raved about Nietzsche. If you like that sort of existentialism, Kierkegaard was also a big, I think, father of existentialism, as it were. You know, he was a precursor to existentialism before existentialism became a thing. You know, before, you know, Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus and so forth. Before existentialism was a term really used, Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, and I think that's about it. Some of early Marx's writing is kind of existentialist. But primarily, Nietzsche and Kierkegaard paved the way for existentialism, and both in their different ways. Nietzsche was the existentialist that inspired atheistic existentialism. Kierkegaard, on the other hand, influenced Christian existentialism. And that's the real unique quality, because I think a lot of times, you know, especially you know, biased conservative Christian people. I think they sometimes tend to think that existentialists are all atheists, or all, yeah, you know, essentially nihilist atheists and so forth. But there was Soren Kierkegaard, who was, you know, I would say a devout Christian, and a Christian who, in a way, really paved the way for new Christian thought. And to some degree, I think some of his Christian thought, unbeknownst to some Christians, is used in our everyday, you know, pop culture, pop political discussions. To give some backstory on me,
Let's do this.
oh, what's going on here? Oh my. Oh. Well, that security guard is dead. That was very strange. It was so random too. He just came out of nowhere chasing that security guard. Okay. But anyway, give some backstory on me. So for my high school years, part of my high school years, I actually went to a private Christian high school in Pennsylvania,
Diamond
and
City
it was
is the
a
place to live.
very sort of
You made the
conservative,
right choice.
biased Christian high school. Not all
You came
Christians
from across the Charles?
are, you
Long
know,
night.
like them, and nobody should criticize all Christians for how they think and view the world. And it took me a long time to sort of get over that, I would say, hatred towards Christianity because of my experience there. But anyways, they didn't believe in evolution. They thought it was a liberal atheist science conspiracy that, you know, the Democrats made up. They you know, they didn't believe in flu shots, etc. You know, it's just a very conservative sort of school in a way. You know, they banned several books, and Nietzsche, Marx, Harry Potter, George Orwell. You know, and you weren't allowed to date. You know, it was forbidden to date anybody in the school. And it was just a really interesting experience. But anyway, there was one professor, and you know, this was sort of the general consensus too. I don't know why I said professor, but there was one teacher there at the school. And he, you know, he said that the Enlightenment period was the period of stupidity, and that it was filled with atheists. And he asked the class, you know, he quoted Nietzsche, and he said, you know, God is dead. Which philosopher said this? And I said, oh, it's Nietzsche. And of course, you know, I felt like this was a trap because everybody in the class stared at me. The professor looked at me sternly, and like, how'd you know this philosopher, etc. And, you know, that's when he went on his rants about the Enlightenment period was filled with atheists. They were all stupid and, you know, evil and so forth. And that was the consensus at the school, is that, you know, the Enlightenment period, those philosophers were all sort of atheistic. Which, to be fair to him, the Enlightenment period, I think, did
this is the
see
famous Diamond
a
City. I
growth
suppose I
in
hope to find more of a
atheism.
gem than a dusty home
Only
base.
because I think societies
Civilization
were
is a
becoming
vast
more and more
field.
liberal as time, went by. You didn't have the medieval Catholic Church, executing people for certain, atheistic ideas and so forth. But anyway, to critique him, and obviously anybody who's taken any modern philosophy 101 class knows that that statement isn't true. The Enlightenment period was not filled with atheist philosophers. In
Hey.
fact, you
I'm
can
all
find
ears.
quite a
Here's what I
bit
have.
of Christian philosophers, famous Christian um, philosophers in the Enlightenment period. Soren Kierkegaard being one of them. Not to mention Descartes. Spinoza was a Jewish philosopher, but you get the point. And so that's a little backstory on me. And for me, it was when I was going through high school and so forth, it was really difficult to get to a point in my life where I didn't think of Christians in that one light, that one view. And I think reading a lot of Christian philosophers had broke that bias for me. I mean, I'm still, not a Christian. I would at least say I'm agnostic. But when I was in high school, I was, dogmatic about atheism, materialism, and so forth. But as I grew older and read more philosophy, especially Christian philosophers and so forth, I at least began to become more open-minded to their thoughts and to sympathize with their thoughts, and at some points really agree with them. Take, for example, Kant, another Enlightenment period philosopher. Immanuel Kant was a really great Christian philosopher, and not only that, a great moral philosopher. He is definitely one of the giants of modern philosophy, of the Enlightenment period. So yeah, it's interesting to think back on that private Christian school. I try not to. It was a very sad time for me. My angsty years. Because during that time, during my, middle school, high school time period, I was, trying to grapple with a lot of things. Not only was I, bullied heavily for, being either, gay or whatever, I was also bullied because of, my mental illness, because of, my autism. And, throughout middle school, especially, during the private Christian high school, I didn't have this person following me around. But through middle school, I had a special aids teacher following me around throughout my classrooms. And this was really difficult. Not only was it difficult for me to make friends, not only was it difficult for me to fit in, because here you have this singular kid in the classroom having a, you know, adult, as it were, you know, is staring over your shoulder every moment of, you know, oops. So it was really quite difficult for me. I didn't know how to communicate well, I didn't know how to socialize well, and I don't think having a teacher Abe follow me around was helpful. And I mean, I think their intentions were pure to some degree. Because the teacher aides, the special aides, depending on the terminology, were there to essentially help the student, you know, stay focused and to make sure they're doing all the homework and schoolwork and that they're, you know, being organized. That was another thing. But in reality, for the most part, teacher aides were essentially, you know, your tattletales, as it were. Or like, you know, if you were, essentially any little, against the rule thing you did, the teacher aide was there to tell you. I remember, you know, when I was a kid in middle school, I used to draw and doodle all the time. It was, before I got into music, I did drawing, you know, I did artwork and stuff. I mean, I wasn't that good at it, but, you know, I had, even when I was that age, I had a love for being creative and creativity. Now I put that creativity in, you know, music. But I remember one time I was doodling in class, and, you know, my special aids teacher essentially told on me or whatever, and just like, it was just little things like that. You'd constantly be getting told on in trouble by, you know, this special aid teacher. And that's not to say all special aid teachers are, you know, rats or tattletales, but, you know, my experience with a special aid teacher was not helpful. Not helpful in me trying to socialize, and also the special aid teacher almost acted as a target in my back. You know, because with the other kids around, they'd be like, oh, you know, he's a retard. You know, let's make fun of him and call him the faggot retard, which, you know, I was constantly called that. You know, constantly, you know, getting into fights because some kid would punch me in the back of the head or something. And so, that's actually the reason why I moved to the private Christian school. I was, you know, getting bullied so much, and I was having trouble with my special aid teachers and so forth, and so I had to find a new school. I had to find a new place. And while to some degree the private Christian school did help, because I wasn't made as fun of as much, I wasn't bullied as much, but it caused a new problem to another degree, because they were so because they were so conservative, so bias, I guess, in their you know, thought, their philosophy, that if you didn't believe in the form of Christianity that they believed in, then you were the black sheep of the flock. And of course then, you know, I was bullied for new reasons, not for what I was previously bullied, which was, you know, for being a you know, retard faggot, as the middle school had bullied me, but for being not Christian enough, for not being having the same political views. For example, one of the papers that I had written in that school was that I had argued that you could believe in the Bible and the Genesis story to some degree, as well as believing in evolution, that they could coincide. Of course, this didn't get much respect from my teachers. So yeah. To give some examples to the weirdness of the school, we used to say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, of course, like most other schools, I assume. I mean, my public school did the Pledge of Allegiance. They also had a Christian Pledge of Allegiance, which was weird. You know, it was the same sort of rhythm, the same sort of rhyme. You know, I pledge allegiance to, you know, God, you know, and so forth. It was their Christian version, but they used to do two pledges, one to, you know, America's Pledge of Allegiance, and then one to, you know, Christianity. They would do this for, you know, every morning and so forth, and it was, you know, I guess acceptable and normal, and I sort of got used to it. But all of a sudden, when Obama, you know, was sworn into office as president, they stopped doing the Pledge of Allegiance. They stopped doing any of that stuff immediately after he got into office. And it was, now, I mean, you can hate and disagree with President Obama as much as you want. I'm not going to debate about that, you know, and so forth. I don't care about your political affiliations. But to quit doing the Pledge of Allegiance just because a certain president got into office just seems a little weird to me, a little ridiculous, because, you know, it just seems weird, because whatever president's in office, I mean, the country's still the same. It's still, you know, your country, as it were, you know, as the Arthur Godfrey song, you know, goes, you know, this land is for you and me. And oops, man, I'm really screwing up on this. There we go.
Nice.
So it threw me off a bit, and that was like when, for me, when the school was, as it were, deteriorating for me. Their philosophy was just getting to a point. Their biases were just getting to a point where I was just like, I couldn't handle it anymore, and I eventually did get kicked out. There was also another time, and this would be another good example of a little weirdness that the school had, which was, there was one teacher, and I sort of forget which class it was, but, if you needed to go to the restroom, he would ask you, you know, to recite a commandment. He would pick a random commandment, like he'd say, tell me what the 4th commandment was, or tell me what the 3rd or 5th commandment was, and you would have to recite it for him. And if you got it wrong, you would have to, you know, go in the Bible and look it up. And that was always difficult for me, because I never cared to remember them. And also, another little factoid about the commandments, there in fact are 2 different instances of the 10 commandments, and they change with a bit of variation, and then also they change with translation. So for me, it's that was a little tedious. That was a little much. Hopefully, I'm gonna try and get strong, and that'll be sort of the end of this video. But let me see if Codsworth and me can. Ooh, that pop in wasn't that great. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but right when Codsworth and I just got out of the elevator, this whole area just popped in. Took a bit to pop in. I really need to upgrade my weapons. Hopefully Codsworth is gonna help me out quite a bit. Huh, that was weird. Yeah, that was sort of my experience at a private Christian school, and they sort of really, they in a way, in their own way, had almost made me biased against Christianity, and it's a real shame, because after I did go to college, I still go in college, but after I had, you know, studied medieval philosophy, studied with several Christian philosophers, did I realize, you know, this hatred towards Christianity is misplaced. And I think, you know, sometimes that can really happen, you know, when you've had such a bad experience from, you know, such a group or ideology, it can really make you extremely biased. And it's really hard to get out of any bias. You know, speaking of another bias, like I used to be a strong supporter of materialism or slash physicalism, depending on your terminology. And I used to be a supporter of, scientism, as it were, a dogmatic belief that science can answer all of our philosophical problems. A good example of a person who would be into scientism is it's Richard Dawkins. I like Richard Dawkins' books, I do. But he will sometimes give these opinions that science can answer all of our philosophical problems, which I think is such a big topic and should really be brought up in another episode.
Come out wherever you are.
Sort of an episode on this philosophy of science and so forth.
Waste my time.
But anyways, yeah.
No green stuff here.
That was my experience in high school, middle school, and it sort of shaped a part of me that I had to also break apart. You know, I had to, change that. And, I think, and I strongly believe that I have grown better from my autism. I've become more sociable. I've been able to communicate better with people. And that I've changed my philosophical views from since I was at that private Christian high school.
Sound would no more hiding for you.
And the only thing that I still have that I sort of don't like, my fiance loves it, but I have a monotone voice. I'm not gonna deny it. Obviously, some of you can probably hear it, especially with my videos. But it's one of those remnants, as it were, that reminds me that I'm still, autistic, as it were. And I mean, that's a good thing, I guess. I think to some degree I should always keep in mind, that, ooh, I'm about to die. Do I have any missiles? And that was good and perfect timing. But yeah, I guess I needed rants about that a bit.
Oh my. Please tell me we're heading back down.
Oh, beneficent Bard! A rescue! You are the first to actually make it to the cage. I think the super mutants killed and ate the others. Quickly get us out of here!
More of my brothers will be here soon. They know a human is attacking the tower.
I'll unlock the cage.
Hurry! Strong says more super mutants are on their way. By the way, he's with me. Please, don't shoot him.
I kinda like Rex in a weird way, just because I'm a fan of Shakespeare.
The best way down off of this cursed tower.
Perfect.
But, to give even a sort of more backstory as I'm opening up with you guys in this video apparently. Last video I was ranting about Nietzsche, this time I'm opening up about myself. So, one of the reasons why I pushed, you know, my study of philosophy and physics and classic literature, I think, was because there is sort of this feeling that, you know, one with mental illness, I think especially one with autism or even ADHD, you know, you're treated, you know, as being inferior, as being an, you know, somebody that's stupid, or even as the term goes, retarded, you know, slow. Less. There's this feeling of alienation that is put into those with a mental illness, I think. And because of that, I forced myself, I pushed myself to obviously read and write, which was a thing I was poor at originally. And also push myself into philosophy, physics, literature, because I felt stupid. I felt less, and I wanted, in a way, disprove, you know, my teachers, my special aid follower, as it were, you know.
Hell is empty and all the devils are here. Let me embrace these sour adversity.
And it's really sad when you think about it, that a lot of special needs kids, a lot of mentally different kids are treated as disabled. And, you know, disabled, I mean, obviously people think it's a better term than retarded, and it is. But when you hear you're disabled constantly, all the time, you get this impression that you are less, that you are, you know, stupid. And when you grow up being told you're disabled, it really does hurt you in many ways, especially when it's not from kids that are calling you disabled. It's from parents, adults, teachers, etc. And so it pushed me to, you know, further my education, to try and disprove them. Say, hey, you know, I've read such and such, I've, you know, read Nietzsche, I've read, you know, Stephen Hawking, I've read Schoenberg, I've read, about to die again. You know, I've read all these people, or I've studied all this, or, you know, I've now taken such and such logic class, all to try and disprove those who, you know, claim I am, you know, disabled. And, in a way, I mean, it was good because it's pushed me to the place I am now, but to some degree, you know, I don't feel, you know, there's a lingering feeling, always a self-doubt that I'm still, you know, disabled, still lesser, still, you know, stupid. And that's a remnant of the constant use of the word, you know, mentally disabled, I think, and the constant, you know, way people treated me as lesser when I was in middle school and high school, and yeah, hence why I needed, I think, such a creative outlet, as music or, you know, drawing.
Hey, Strong.
Go away, bleeder.
I would like to think that I've disproved all of those teachers and special aid workers wrong, that I wasn't some hopeless case. But unfortunately, I don't think a lot of them have or will change their opinions of me. And that's sort of something I think I just have to grow to accept. You know, sometimes you just have to accept that some people in the world just hate you for no good reason.
Rex.
Many thanks for that timely rescue.
You're welcome.
As gracious as you are brave. Yes, well, in any event, I'm quite grateful. I'd like you to have this. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think it's time I left this awful place. I'm returning to WRVR and resuming my career in radio.
Go find milk of human kindness with Strong.
Yes, I'll honor my promise.
Good. Strong travel with human. Human helps Strong find milk of human kindness. Strong learns secret of humans.
Well, he's a brutish one. Shall I lube the old joints while you're away?
Robot, stop squawking. Strong smash.
So, if there was gonna be ever one lesson in this video, I think, is that, you know, wherever you go in life, however old you are, there's always gonna be bullies out there that are gonna try to spread as much hate as possible, and unfortunately, you know, you'll have to try to not only let it get to you, but I think we ought to, morally ought to, you know, prevent people from bullying others. I think, you know, if we, you know, see somebody, you know, either bullying somebody for mental differences, bullying somebody for, you know, their sexuality and so forth. I think to some degree we ought to, you know, stand up to anybody, you know, who's bullying people. You know, we shouldn't let hatred, you know, run free. You know, if you disagree with somebody, that's one thing too. You know, with the private Christian school, that's one thing. But you don't have to bully somebody to disagree with them. You know, like obviously, for example, when you read academic papers, you expect, you know, strong logical arguments to critique a certain philosopher or a philosophy or a theory. Not name calling. You know, if you see somebody just insulting a philosopher, insulting a theory with a bunch of names, callings, or, you know, etc., then it's not a valid paper. It's just bullying in academic sense. And this is why I would consider it, you know, a fallacy. It's not an argument. You're just plain on picking on somebody, you know. So yeah. But to get off this topic, we did find Strong. We're going to find another follower in the next video. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you want to see some more. And till next time. Bye-bye.